Okay, good. I think we're live now. Thank you, Mommy, for coming here and doing this impromptu video for us this Juneteenth weekend. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to hang out here. I am Reverend Dr. Stacy Brown, and this is my mother, Ruby Brown. Some of you all have heard her story by way of a few sermons that I've done, either in Atlanta or in Nashville in particular. But I wanted to take this opportunity to interview my mother live because I've had some incredible times with her story, her own Juneteenth story. And so what I want to do, Mom, if you don't mind, is to simply kind of give an overview of your experiences and then be able to have others to ask questions, perhaps from the few people who are here. Those questions can be shouted out, or if there are people online and who comment with questions, I can do that. So, in any case, again, thank you so much for driving up here this Juneteenth weekend. So it all started around 1966 with my mother, who was working the fields. This was supposed to be sharecropping, but it wasn't really sharecropping, so I kind of use air quotes. And so what happened is that my mother and her, how many siblings?
At that time, it was like 8 of us. Okay,
so 8 siblings. Living in a 3-room house, walking one way to school, and from that time, and this is in Warrenton, Georgia. It's a very small city in Georgia, in Warren County, Warrenton, Georgia, and so way off the beaten path. There were many African Americans who did not know that such freedoms existed. Because they were so far off the beaten path. And so the laws that were put into place, none of them ever reached those African American communities. Nevertheless, my mother and her 8 siblings worked the fields, in any case, under the guise of sharecropping, but there was truly no payment that could sustain a family of sorts. So they worked for this family for years. And my mother, I have to tell the backstory of her education. She went to school off and on from kindergarten. Was she entered kindergarten at what, 6?
I was actually 7.
You were, okay. So she was 7 years old when she started kindergarten. And wasn't able to go every day of the week. She could only go maybe 2 to 3 times a week because she had to share clothes with her other siblings. They walked 5 miles one way to go to school. As they walked 5 miles one way to the local elementary school, the school bus carrying white children would drive by. And would they say anything when they drive by? Or was...
No.
Okay. So they would just drive by. My mom and her siblings and whatever other blacks from the communities would eventually arrive to the school. But anyway, she would do this for kindergarten, again, for only 2-3 days a week for most of the school year. Couldn't go the entire school year because they had to work in the fields. The same thing repeated for first grade. The same thing repeated for 2nd grade. After about 2nd grade, you were not able to go to school.
Exactly.
And you did not go to school from 2nd grade until which grade?
The next time I was able to go to school, I was put in 6th grade because by that time I was like maybe 12.
Okay. So after 2nd grade, you did not go to school until the 6th grade. At 12 years old.
At 12.
And mind you, for the years that she did attend school, she was not able to go every day. she goes to school, resumes school again at the 12th. What were the teachers? Were there any comments like going to school or?
Actually, now the first time I remember, I was 7. Went to a kindergarten, and then when I was 7 years old, they first put me in second grade at 7.
Because you were supposed to be
I
in
was
second
supposed
grade.
to be in second grade, and then they realized that I couldn't comprehend what was being said because I had missed the other grades. So then at 7 years old, then they put me back in the first grade. So I only had first grade and second grade education. That was it until years later at 12, they put me in sixth grade. Yeah.
Got it. So sixth grade, that same pattern continued in terms of being able to go 2 or 3 days a week.
Exactly. And so after that, after about 2 years, that was 12, so almost 3 years, then I was put in 7th grade. So I missed out on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. Mm-hmm. And then went to 6th. Couldn't go the entire time for that. Missed a few more years, and then at 15, I'm in the 7th grade. Yeah.
15 years old, 7th grade. Mm-hmm. So you're walking, so this is part of the story. So you're walking to school.
Yes.
And you see a magazine on the ground.
Actually, this was one day during the week. We had gotten out of the cotton field, and we're walking back home from the cotton field. And even though I didn't have a lot of education or learning, I just loved to read, and I would just pick up anything I saw. So I saw this magazine laying on the ground, and I just picked it up and started looking at it. Yeah.
So this magazine that she picks up off the ground has an address to the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And my mother, again, with very little literacy skills, but she loved to read, but very little literacy skills and education, wrote a letter from that magazine to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue to the White House. And how did the letter, what did you particularly say in that letter?
At that time, I remember when I picked the magazine up off the ground, and I'm just looking through it, and then I stopped, and I remember it was a magazine called Life. It was a Life magazine.
Okay.
And they had an article in there about our president, and at that time it was Lyndon B. Johnson, and they had an ad in there about the Job Corps and about learning that for children that was, I think they had like underprivileged or something like that. Don't remember everything now, but I'll just know that it had President Johnson's name on there and the address to the White House. So I just wrote a letter to the president.
Just like that. Hey, you know what I see? I'm going to write a letter to the... And so how did the letter go?
Well, actually, I found, because we really didn't have a lot of school supplies, I actually found a piece of paper and a pencil, and I just said, Mr. President Johnson, my name is Ruby May Lowe. I'm 15 years old. I work in the cotton fields every day, and I want to go to school. And I think that was about it.
That was pretty much the letter. Mm-hmm. So you get that letter, and describe how it went for the mail.
Okay, so at that time, stamps were only 6 cents. All you had to do was have a nickel and a penny, get an envelope, you address your envelope. And it's kind of hard to explain because at that time, 6 cents was a lot of money. But some way, I found a nickel and a penny, and I wrote down the address.
6 cents was a lot of money.
That was a lot of money then. And anyway,
what would 6 cents get you? I'm sorry.
Oh gosh, back then 6 cents. You could go to the store. You could almost buy a loaf. You could get a loaf of bread for 5 cents. Actually, you could get we had cookies called the little butter cookies and the giant cake cookies. Usually at least 5 cookies for a penny or something like that. Yeah, you. Yeah, that was a lot of money.
A single mom
Yeah,
with 8 kids, 9 kids.
it was 8 then. Yeah.
8 kids. That was a lot because that was a loaf of bread for the family. So nevertheless, okay, so we get back to the mailing.
But the stamps were, that's the thing.
Stamps were 6 cents.
Were only 6 cents.
You found a nickel and a penny.
I found that nickel and penny, wrote the letter, put the 6 cents on top of the envelope in the mailbox, and the mailman picked it up.
So what the viewers don't know is that the mailbox, and this will come out on other videos to be shared, but I actually rode with my mom. You took me, this was 2021, I believe.
Yeah.
This was 2021, it was my first time ever being on her home field or the fields where she worked. She took me, that mailbox did not look like a mailbox for today. It was literally a large branch from a tree with a mailbox head. That mailbox with that branch, sitting on that branch, is still there to this day. Nevertheless, she puts 6 cents on top of the letter, and that 6 cents makes it to Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Because you decide to write the president. So sometime afterward, my mom describes it like the Men in Black, the movie. Black car coming down the road, and it pulls into their dirt driveway, and 2 white men in white suits. Black suits, trench coats,
black hats.
White collar button downs. They approach the house and they knock on the door. They ask for Ruby Lowe.
Ruby May Lowe.
Ruby May Lowe. Your mom answers.
Yes.
Her mom, of course, did not have any education, no literacy whatsoever, no reading, no writing skills. And they say what to her?
Well, and in that era, at that time, like I said, they come up in the black limo, black trench coats, black hats, and everything. And in those days, if you see a white person come to your home like that, and you being a person of color, it's very intimidating. So my mom went to the door, and she just kind of cracked the door open a little, and they asked for Ruby May Lowe. And so, look, I'm her daughter, and she's like, yes, she lives here, sir, what? And they were very, very respectful, and that was one thing we weren't used to, because they addressed my mom as, are you Miss Lowe? And
they called her ma'am.
Yes.
And that was the first time that ever happened.
Yeah.
The first time my grandmother, her mother, had ever been addressed by a white person by calling her Miss and calling her ma'am.
Yes, yes. And so, and I'm standing behind my mom, but I can see the relief on her face, because she didn't know, and she still didn't know what was going on, but because she was treated with respect, and she said, yes, I'm Miss Lowe, and they said, is Ruby May Lowe your daughter? And she said, yes, she is. And then they introduced themselves. They said, we are, I don't remember the names, but they actually had like badges, and they showed it to her. And like you said, my mom didn't know how to read and write, but they said, we are from the United States of America. We're here from the President Johnson. Your daughter wrote President Johnson a letter, and he told us to come and find her and to help her, because she wants to go to school, and we're here to make sure that happens. Yeah.
that's so much behind that. We have a lot of kids today who don't even want to go to school. First off,
Yeah.
act a fool in school, don't care anything about education. Nevertheless, when I jump back to you want to go to school, here are two white gentlemen approaching. Now, I also want you to share this backdrop because part of your story and part of your household experience was a white man coming to your house. Wasn't in kindness.
No.
The story is that there were white men coming to the house asking my grandmother to sell their daughters for sex.
Yeah. The first time I was 12 years old, and it was the man that my mom actually worked for, and he would come to my mom's house and say, I'll give you X amount of money or whatever if you let your daughter come and go to bed with me. And she said, I can't do that. This is my child. I can't do that. And for her to say that took a lot of strength and a lot of courage, because you just didn't deny that kind of thing. And even for them to ask us sometime in that era, people didn't ask. They just did what they wanted to do. But for whatever reason, they did approach my mom, and my mom said, I can't do that. That's my child. Yeah.
Do you know how much money they offered?
They would tell her that they would give her $100. They would give her $50. And that was equivalent.
So you felt like 6 cents was a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
So if they're saying, hey, we will give you $50, we will give you $100 for your daughter.
And she said, no, I can't do that. Yeah.
There's so much behind that as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, that bring up,
Go ahead.
a lot of emotional. I think about my mom, because most people think, well, she's a single mother. My mother wasn't a widow. She wasn't divorced. She wasn't a single parent. She was married to my dad, but my dad left when I was 5 years old. So she had the burden of taking care of us, and there were people that were trying to take us from her, and she said, no, these are my kids. I'll just take care of them the best way I can. So in saying that, and knowing that my mom didn't have any education, and it was really hard for her to take care of us, she didn't take that money. She wouldn't do that. She didn't sell us out or sell me out, because they were bidding for me. Yeah, that was for me. And she wouldn't do that. Yeah.
So interesting, when you talk about your mom was married, she was still married, but your father wasn't around. So, of course, during the time that I had the privilege of interviewing you about this very thing in person, your big sister, Scoot, Rosa Bell, informed us the story as to why he wasn't around. He just didn't leave the home because he was drunk or he was skipping out on the family. The story goes, what she revealed to us that day in 2021 was that the landowner had a group of black men around. The white landowner had a group of black men around him, and your father, my grandfather, your mom's husband, was off in the distance, and he called, beckoned for him to come. His name was Sidney Lowe. Yes. And so they called, hey, Sidney Lowe. Sid. So he called, said, Sid, I need you to come over here. So from the distance from where he was, he got up and walked and made his way over to the crowd. When he made his way over to the crowd with the white landowner who called him, the white landowner got upset and said,
he slapped my dad first.
Slapped your dad first and said, nigger, when I say come,
You better run to me.
You better run to me. And what happened after that was Sid did not take that slap or those words. In fact, he reciprocated that 10 to 20 times over and beat him up very badly.
Yes.
But at the point that he beat him up, I see so. Okay, I see that. And so he knew that because he bested him, had beaten him up, he knew that he would be a dead man if he remained around.
Oh yeah, that was a threat put on his life. And besides that, here's this nigger, this black man beat me up in front of all these other black men. You don't do that. And so my dad was a little short guy, and my dad was very quiet and humble, but he just wasn't taking it. And so there was, quote unquote, like I said, contract put out on my dad's life. If you ever see this one, kill him. And so my dad had to run away. Yeah.
And my aunt, your sister, reminded or shared that day that there were a couple of visits to the house.
Oh yes.
Following that, looking for your dad.
Oh yeah. After my dad left, they would come and intimidate my mom and interrogate her. But my mom, she really didn't know where he was. We didn't know where my dad was for a year. It was over a year. And at that time, my mom was pregnant with her 12th child from my dad. And when he left, she didn't know where he was. So they finally, let her alone. They finally realized that she really didn't know where he was, or they just let it be. And so at that time, I think my mom's like 6 months pregnant when my dad left. So then the baby was born. She still didn't know where he was, and we didn't either. And that was my baby brother at that time, and his name was Stephen. And back then, you didn't take your children to the doctor if they were sick. So at 6 weeks old, my baby brother died from diarrhea.
You watched him?
I was laying right there with him, and I watched my baby brother take his last breath. Yeah. So, yeah, it was a lot.
So these two men, they come, they tell you they're there from the president to help you get to school.
Mm-hmm.
So you shared a little bit about what do you remember about them being in your home?
Okay, so when they identified who they were, they showed Mom their ID badges, and like I said, she couldn't read, so she reached behind her and took my hand, and she said, "Read this, baby." And I told her who it was. I said, "They're from the office of the president. They're from Washington, D.C." And so she opened the door and let them come in. And so while they're there, they're just looking around because, like I said, we were in a 3-room house, not 3 bedrooms, 3 rooms.
3 rooms.
13 of us living in 3 rooms. So they explained to her again the reason that they were there. And they asked me how old I was again. I said, I'm 15. So in order to get into the Job Corps, you had to be 16. And they told my mother, because of the letter, I told the president I was 15. They said that we're going to make an exception. The president has already said if you will agree for her to go, we will get her in there. My mom couldn't read or write. She had to put an X on this letter to signify that it was okay. She gave them permission to allow me to go into Job Corps at 15 instead of 16.
So just to back up for a moment, they're there in the house.
Mm-hmm.
We go through this application for you to get to the Job Corps.
Mm-hmm.
You said it was 13. Now, before you said it was siblings. Everybody. So explain the 13.
Okay, my oldest sister at the time, she had 2 children of her own, and she was there. She was separated from her husband. I had another sister at the time that was 13. She also had a child. And so it was us, my two older sisters, their 2. One of them had 2 children, and the other one only had 1 at that time. So it was 13 of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. 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 You go to Job Corps. Now, what was this Job Corps? Was this like down the street from
No.
from the house?
And actually, at the time, like I said, I was 15, and when they came, and it was a process, but it took about 4 weeks. They actually, when they went back to Washington, D.C., they got in touch with some people in Augusta, and the people from Augusta was like 47 miles from Warrenton. Anyway, they sent up agents and people from Augusta to come and get everything else in order, and it took about maybe a month or so. So it was a process, but they actually sent me to St. Louis, Missouri. It was a 2-day ride on a bus. Here's a little country girl. Yeah, I was from Warrenton to St. Louis, Missouri, and to this Job Corps Center.
And you said they gave you money, a bus ticket?
Oh yeah, they gave me the bus ticket. They gave me what they call food vouchers for when we would stop at different bus stations for food and things like that, because it did take 2 days to get there. And here I am coming from the country to this big city, St. Louis, Missouri. But in the Job Corps Center, it was like a college campus. They had everything, the facilities, hospital, everything was there. And they actually had someone to meet me at the bus station, take me to the center and everything. And 15 years old, first time I ever had a toothbrush. 15 years old, first time I'd ever been to a dentist. 15 years old, second time I'd ever seen a doctor.
15 years old, first time having a toothbrush.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
15 years old, first time ever seeing a dentist.
Yes.
15, the second time ever. When was the first time you saw a doctor?
I was about 6 years old. I had got really sick, and my mom took me to the doctor. That's the only time I'd ever been to the doctor.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in how long were you in St. Louis?
I was in St. Louis for almost a year, and at that time they had an election, and President Johnson did not run. It was someone else ran, but President Richard Nixon became president. And then after he got into office, he closed down a lot of Job Corps centers. So this particular Job Corps center in St. Louis was closed down, and they actually flew me from St. Louis to Oklahoma City to the Job Corps center there.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Did they inform as to why certain Job Corps centers were closing down?
When President Nixon came into office, they just closed down a lot of different federally funded programs that benefited, different people.
Would you say African Americans?
Well, African Americans, different what they call social economic programs that would help people. Yeah, so a lot of those different areas was just shut down.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Sounds familiar. Nevertheless, so you're in Oklahoma.
Yes.
What happens there?
In Oklahoma, it was kind of like I had to start the process all over again, but the center was amazing. And mind you, I only had the first second grade education, if you can call it that. Had skipped all those other grades. So here I am, 15. I'm having to start all over as if I was in kindergarten. Only thing I knew was adding and subtraction. I didn't know multiplication, didn't know division, didn't know any of that. So I was like what they call in a remedial class or whatever. But those people were amazing. They were amazing. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it was because I love to read, and if I catch on to it, that's it. I got it. And so, but I had wonderful people just working with me. But I did have to just start at the basic and work my way up, and that's what I did.
Something happened to you while at Job Corps in Oklahoma.
Oh. Well, we had, besides the learning, they had etiquette programs and things like that. So I took those classes, and then they suggested that I run for Miss Job Corps. And they had just like they do the pageants and all of that kind of stuff. We did all of that, and I won. I was first runner-up for Miss Job Corps, yeah. And so they had it in the newspaper, and then we was in a parade. And at that particular year, whatever the football team was for Oklahoma City, they won the Super Bowl. So we got
not the Super Bowl, but the
whatever it was, they
the
won
championship.
the championship, and they had the parade where they go downtown. So we got a chance to ride on the parade to represent Job Corps, yeah.
Being the University of Oklahoma's championship parade.
Yeah.
Wow. So I would love to see these papers. Like, if it was printed in the newspaper, there's got to be a copy somewhere. Somebody help do something. Help find the copy of Ruby Lowe, first runner-up Miss Job Corps. You saw the picture, right?
The Job Corps actually sent my mom the newspaper.
They sent your mom the paper
with a picture of me in the parade and with me being first runner-up for Miss Job Corps. Yeah.
So, what did you study at Job Corps?
Well, after completing the studies for learning how the basic, I got my GED, and then I went into nursing. First I did the nursing assistant, and then went into the LPN, licensed practical nurse.
So you got your license, your LPN license from Job Corps.
Mm-hmm. At first I got my, what they call a license, not the licensed practical nursing, but the nursing assistant, nurse's aide, and all of that. Went through all of that first, the GED and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, did you end up getting a job being a nurse?
When I came back to Warrenton, there was still a lot of prejudice there. I never did get a job in Warrenton as a nurse. But when I got married and moved to Augusta, that's when I got my first job working at Graceville State School Medical and Hospital as, they call it a health service technician. They didn't do it under the licensed LPN, but it was still in the field of nursing and taking care of people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You also said that when you started working, you were able to buy a car.
Actually, once I graduated from Job Corps and came back home at the age of 17, I bought my first car.
Now, how were you able to do that and you were not yet married yet? And
well, when you're in Job Corps, you're working, you get a stipend of an allowance, and then they put money aside. Once you finish all of your courses and you graduate satisfactorily, they send you a lump sum of money, and that's what I used to buy my car.
What kind of car was that?
It was it was a Charger.
A Dodge Charger.
A Dodge Charger, yes. I forget the
So
name
your
of it.
first car was a Dodge Charger.
Yes.
What made you pick that car?
Because it was just pretty and fast.
It was pretty and fast.
And I learned how to drive when I was 12 years old, so yeah.
So, and is it true you were the first of your siblings to buy a car? Were you the first? No.
Well, my oldest brother had it.
Your oldest brother had a car.
Yeah.
But everybody wanted to drive your car.
Yeah. Of course. Or just ride. Yeah, just ride in it.
Yeah. So, lot of different shout outs here. I'm thinking most presidents, I'm not going to say every president, but most presidents have different things going on, controversies, some of them legitimate. Still, nevertheless, shout out to LBJ, President Lyndon B. Johnson.
Lyndon B. Johnson. Yes.
Because, and then there's a story that I'll get to in a moment, but I'm going to give a shout out first, but shout out to him. Shout out to the Job Corps and everything that happened for you there.
Yes.
Shout out to Oklahoma State, who had the parade, had you there in the parade. Shout out to Dodge because they allowed you, you were able to buy spend your money on that car, that pretty fast car, that Dodge Charger, your first vehicle. But I want to go back for a moment to President Johnson because you went on a trip a few years ago. And this was after our interview, I believe. So this was after 2021. You went on a trip with a couple of your friends. And on that trip, you were kind of telling some parts of the story. And one of the women on the trip kind of did a double take, did a look at you to say,
Yeah.
And what was it that she revealed to you?
Okay, so I actually, and this was the second time I met this lady, and Ms. McNeil, she's a pastor. She lives in, I believe, Charlotte, North Carolina. But anyway, we was just on this trip in Savannah, and we were just talking about different things. And she asked me where did I go to school. And so I just mentioned to her about my story about not going to college and where I did go to school. And I just mentioned about writing the letter to the president and was able to get my education. And she looked at me and she said, "Oh my God, you're her." And I didn't know what she was talking about. She said, You're that little black girl." And I'm like, "What?" She said she was reading a documentary, and she was reading this book. And also, she had the book, but she remembered watching a documentary with President Johnson, and one of the interviewers that was talking to him was asking him what was some of the most memorable things during his presidency. And one of the things she said, President Johnson said, one of the most memorable thing was getting a letter from this little black girl in Georgia. I went home, I showed that letter to my wife, and my wife said, "You better find her and send her to school." And it was me.
Now, I didn't know, okay, so
Yeah.
I'm just finding out right now,
Yeah.
real time. So it's not just in a book, but there was, the woman that you met watched a documentary. So in this documentary, in this interview, he shared that.
Yes, and it's in one of his memoirs that he wrote in his book somewhere. Yeah.
Because I've bought 2 different memoirs from Lyndon B. Johnson, and I haven't seen it. I'm like, it's got to be somewhere because it's more than one. So I was only able to afford, but the 2 that I got didn't necessarily have anything even remotely related to really anything like with Job Corps or a letter from anybody. So I'm still searching for that book. But if there is a video of this, with this interview because this woman watched it, and I don't know how long ago it was that she saw it, but there's footage out there, and I want to find that. I want to see that.
I remember because she was an awesome lady. Her name was Gwen McNeil, and she lived, I believe, in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I wasn't sure. But yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I want to talk about this, because I think this is like really important. The agents come to Warrenton. They send you to Job Corps. Okay. When you were in Warrenton and the family during that time, like your family was working the fields.
Yes.
And there were many other families in that area also working, maybe perhaps not only for this particular landowner, but for other white
Yes.
landowners
Yes.
around the family. You come back to visit. And when you came back, you mentioned something. You didn't see a lot of the people that you saw before, or the first time you came back to visit from Job Corps.
The first time I came back, my mom and a couple of my sisters were still in the field because after 6 months, pardon me, they sent me home for a visit for about a week, and then
After 6 months, they sent you home for a visit.
and
Okay.
then the next time when I came back, my mom was no longer, and my sisters, and other brothers were no longer working in the field. Actually, it's like all the fields had shut down. No other people were working in fields anymore.
Right. So this is after your visit. This is after people from Washington came down. So, and I want to back up for a moment, because that letter not only allowed you to escape the fields, your letter allowed for the rest of that community to escape. Because those agents came down there, they basically saw illegal activity happening and going on. I also wanted to back up because you shared with me, you remember some of your times in the field as a child.
Yes.
And when they were in the fields, there would be somebody looking out. And what would they say when they were looking out? Well, while you were a child working in the fields.
Here they come. So actually, the Child Labor Law Act was supposed to be enforced, but all of us kids working in the field, they literally would send out people to see if any underage children, school-age children, were in the field. So they would have someone to look out, and when they would see the agents coming, they would give like a signal, and they would hide all the kids. Yeah.
So they would hide all the kids in the field. Right.
Yeah. And you know, I never really being that young, but I remember when I'm coming back, and I was just so happy to see that my mom wasn't in the field anymore. My sisters and brothers weren't in the fields anymore. And even after I left to go to Job Corps, my mom literally, she was harassed by the man that owned the fields where we were working. My mom had to say that I had ran away. She never could reveal that I was actually in Job Corps because, she would have been mistreated really, really bad. I could have gotten in a lot of trouble. So she never did reveal the fact that I was in Job Corps. She said, I don't know where she is. She ran away. Yeah.
Wow. And I think that's one of the biggest shout outs of them all. Your
To
mom.
my mom. Yes. To my mom.
Her bravery, her being a protector, a major protector.
Major, yes.
That gives a completely new spin and context to being a strong black woman.
Yeah, she's she stood up in a silent way, but it was boldness and it was strength behind it, and she did it with dignity. But yeah, she stood.
Yeah. So, there's just a lot to unpack, but I just wanted to.
It's a lot.
I just wanted to. What do you like? You said it was bringing up some emotions. What are you feeling right now?
It just takes me back to my childhood. It takes me back to, even as today, it's just being grateful. Like I said, we lived in a 3-room house, 13 kids. My sister and I, that was 11 months younger than me, she and I had a little cot that was in the kitchen. And that's where she and I slept together. And it just stirs up so much because we have so much to be thankful for. And I just think about this generation and even some of the generation before me that's just not grateful. Even they don't want to put clothes in a washing machine and dishes in a dishwasher. We didn't have any of that. I didn't even have an inside bathroom. And up until I went to Job Corps at the age of 15, that was the first time I actually took a shower or could get in a bathtub, you know? So, and just thinking about all this over the years, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful. Yeah.
You and your older sister slept on a cot.
Now, this is my younger sister that was 11 months.
Because the older sister had 2 kids.
Yeah.
So what were the sleeping arrangements like in this house?
Oh man. Okay. So it's 3 rooms, and out of the 3 rooms, 1 room was a kitchen, and then the cot was in there for my other sister and I, and then in the other rooms it was just beds. And so you may have like 3 people at the head, 2 people at the foot of the bed, 2 beds in each room. But we just made it work, and some of them we have what you call pallets.
So it's 3 people in the bed.
6 people altogether, like 3 at the head and 3 at the foot, like that.
6 people in the same bed.
Exactly. Anywhere from 6 to 5 people in one bed. Yeah. But she made it work.
And the stuff we complain about today.
Yeah. We made it work.
Wow. I didn't know that. Okay, so 6 people in the same bed.
In the same bed.
Sleeping alternatively.
Yeah. Exactly. Get your foot out of my mouth. Get your feet out of my face. Or your feet is in my ear. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. With an outhouse for a bathroom.
Yes.
And so the only room that wasn't a quote-unquote bedroom was a kitchen.
And actually, like I said, my sister that was 11 months younger than I, and she passed in 2012, she and I had a little cot in the kitchen. So I guess...
So you all slept on the same cot?
Yeah.
Not individuals?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. It just brings up a lot of emotions. Some sad, some happy, some grateful. We made it through.
Describe meals, because you talked about loaf of bread, you talked about penny for 5 butter cookies.
Oh, now, when I say a loaf of bread, that's what we call it, white bread, sliced bread. Now, that was a luxury, because we didn't get that very often. But our meals consisted of, which I'm not going to blame, but we only had, on a Sunday, we had chicken. And I mean the entire chicken, the chicken feet, the back, all of that, yeah. But during the week, it was just the peas and the beans.
How many chickens to feed that family that y'all have on a Sunday?
1.
But y'all sharecroppers. And you're supposed to be sharing all of it. You only have 1 chicken?
Yeah, well, the sharecropper, that was like for the cotton. That's what they call sharecropper. And before my dad left home, we had a farm where we had animals and stuff. And then after he left, yeah.
They took those animals?
Well, my mom couldn't raise all
She
of that,
couldn't
and you
manage
all
them.
couldn't manage all of that. But the thing is, our meals consisted of peas and rice and beans and cornbread, or what we call, and my mom made biscuits. And on Sundays we had the chicken, and you split the wing between two people and all that kind of stuff. But we made it work. She made it work. Yeah.
That's big because I'm not trying to split chicken with nobody.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
describe your school lunch. When you did go to school.
When we did go to school, we had to we took a biscuit and a piece of fatback, or a biscuit with some home preserve on there. That was our lunch. Yes. Mm-hmm.
How many sisters did you have to share your clothes with when you?
The sister that was 11 months, we were 11 months apart. I go to school one day and wear the clothes, wear the dress and the shoes. Then the next day I go to the field. She go to school and she wear the dress and the shoes. We literally had to share the same pair of shoes, same dress, and we had alternate days to go to the field.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. When we did go to school, yeah.
And how about with your other siblings? Did it work the same way for them?
Yes.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Shared everything.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. I was looking to see if there were any questions yet online, or perhaps by the time we get off, there may be some other questions. But there are a few people here. I didn't know if anybody had a question to ask, because I want to give a solid hour for this experience, and thank you again. But if anybody did have a question, yes.
It's an amazing story, I think, with Job Corps. I'm curious, because obviously you were kind of hungry for it. You enjoyed reading, and you were the president for the education. So, and I would imagine in a program like that, most of the people involved wanted to be there. However, hearing your story, I know that you definitely wanted to be there. What was the rest of the student body like? Like, were they generally grateful to be there? Were there people there that didn't thrive in that environment? What was that like, being with that student body in the Job Corps?
Just like it is now in school and in college, some kids really are there to learn and want to, and some of them just take it for granted and they didn't want to. You had a probationary period. If you didn't comply and go to the classes and do like you were supposed to do, then you would be sent home. So for the majority of them that was there, they really wanted to be there. And then there were some that were there that just didn't want to adhere to the rules and just wanted to do like they wanted to do. So it is just like regular school here or college, yeah. But I must say that all the staff, they were amazing. And we had professors, the teachers, instructors, medical staff. It was an entire community. You had your hospital facility and everything. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yes.
The one that's sitting on my head now, most of your teachers, were they Caucasian?
It actually was a mix.
A mix of teachers.
It was a mix of teachers, yeah. But like I say, and they were very professional. They were professional. I mean, professors, and yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know how we had the siblings, and there's a thing that's called survivor's
Let me kind of rephrase that for the people who are watching. So the question was about if my mom experienced survivor's guilt by being able to go and experience what she did.
Actually, my sisters and brothers, they looked at me like I was a celebrity. There was so much love from my brothers and sisters. And they still do me like that today.
and I must say, a fantastic family. I haven't seen my aunties and uncles in that on that side of Georgia for a minute. I know we've been in Nashville for a few years. I am looking forward to family. Any of you who are watching, I do plan to come to whatever's going to be happening this year. So I'm looking forward to seeing every one of you. I love you all, and it's always just an amazing spirit with the family and that gathering down there. Every last one of them, just I love their hearts. I love everybody there. Yes.
Speaking of your siblings, I was going to ask, were any of them inspired by you to pursue a higher education because of what you, because of your experiences?
I had two sisters to go. They didn't get their GED. They didn't go to Job Corps, but they did get their GED. And also there were several other individuals in Warrenton after I did go to Job Corps. They went. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I think that was amazing because what she didn't realize, like it didn't dawn on her until I was having a conversation that you do realize that your letter shut all of that down. Because when you came back, they were no longer in the fields. Had it not been for that letter.
And in hindsight, it's like, I didn't know what was going on behind the scenes, but evidently those agents, they went ahead on and did all kinds of stuff because after a year, everything shut down. There were no more adults or children working in the cotton fields. No more. Yeah.
There's a comment that says, "This is a bestseller. Put your story on paper." I know that people have been saying that when I've shared the story. I've shared the story in different contexts, even in my most recent doctoral, my journey to receive my doctorate degree in ministry from Mercer University. Shout out Mercer University. But there have been people who have been inspired by me sharing, you know what I mean? By me sharing that story.
Wow.
I know the same thing happened with my daughter when she was at SCAD, and so she was in the film program, screenwriting program. At her graduation, I'm looking at all of these people who could not wait to meet the woman that her granddaughter told them about. It's just simply amazing, and so. Again, my mom had this idea, like, I thought that everybody lived like this. I didn't think that I had in 1966, were other black people, especially up north, Chicago, all of these different areas, New York, like, they were light years beyond where you were.
Yeah, it was like, I remember when I went to Job Corps, I went to St. Louis, Missouri. Remember, this small town, this huge, big city, and I was just like a deer in headlights. Yeah.
You told me that there was a song that really stood out to you. What was that song?
It is well with my soul.
Yep.
And I still say that, and I mean it. It is well. I actually joined like a chorus when I was in St. Louis. One of the instructors, she had like an all-girls chorus. So, and that song, it is well with mine. So, yeah, and it still resonates in my spirit. Yeah.
There was another song you also shared that inspired you. by Soul Brother #1 from
Oh,
Augusta,
yes.
Georgia.
Yes.
James Brown. What was
Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud.
why,
Yes.
why was that? Why was that such an impactful song for you?
Because growing up in that era, and it was such a stigmatism, even from your own race. If you were dark skinned, you know, you were looked down upon. And so, because it's like, if you white, you're right. If you're black, get back. And
That was
so-
the same back then. If you're white, you're right.
And if you're
Black, get back.
Yeah. And so when James Brown came out with that song, Say It Loud, I'm black and I'm proud. And so they came out like the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. So I was proud for the first time of my skin color. Because even then, like I said, even your own color discriminated against you. If you were light skinned, you worked inside of the house. But if you were dark skinned, you were put out in the field. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that is it.
Okay.
Mommy, aka Ruby May Brown. Love you so much. Thank you.
And Ruby May Lowe.
That's right, Ruby May Lowe. That's right.
Yes.
And I also have to say this. As my wife said this one day, a couple of years ago. She said, "Do you realize that your mom, who was barely able to get an education, has a son who's at the time getting a doctorate degree?"
How about it?
She was like the
Mm-hmm.
and just how you have like everything in between, and it's it's just a lot of y'all so much. Watch it again if you like. Bye.
Awesome interview.